mortgages on the doorstep.
Right, no,
that's what really counts. And for you to suggest that it's dire is absolute nonsense.
No, but Ian, I'm not suggesting it's dire. If you'd listened to the whole question, you'd have heard that's what Jon Ashworth said. He is a senior key member of the Labour front bench. And he said, it's dire for Labour. It's dire. I'm helping colleagues, banging on about the NHS for them, but it's awful for them. And it's the combination of Corbyn and Brexit. That's not me. That's one of your colleagues.
You said yourself it was dire, and I understand you're quoting Jonathan Ashworth. Let me just say about Jonathan Ashworth. He's a thoroughly decent individual, a fantastic man, somebody who's been on the front foot with regard to the NHS, and the NHS is absolutely crucial in this election. Jonathan Ashworth actually spoke to him, yesterday, and he guaranteed me, he said, Ian, I'm telling you that was banter. That wasn't a conversation that anybody should take seriously. This is a man who's been a friend of his for more than a decade. He didn't expect this sort of thing to happen.
No, he didn't expect it. He didn't expect it to happen there, and therein lies the truth. Ian, anyone listening to that transcript, anyone listening to that recording, nobody can seriously dismiss that as joshing and banter. They just can't.
If Jonathan Ashworth, a senior front bench MP, has got tremendous credibility, tremendous respect right across the political spectrum. If Jonathan Ashworth says to me personally that, Ian, this was banter, you know what? I believe him. All
right. Well, what about Len McCluskey, big supporter of Jeremy Corbyn, and he has said over this campaign that in Labour's heartlands, where people voted to leave, there is a question over Brexit and with Jeremy in some places. It's true.
That's huge issues on the doorstep, particularly in the Labour Leave areas. Yeah. I'm not doubting that, but at the end of the day,
with your Brexit position and with Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, we've been knocking on lots and lots of doors in these regions right across the country. Jeremy, for example, is going to travel 500 miles a day visiting 5 constituencies. He's left.
But it's not about the distances that you do and the numbers of doorsteps you knock on. It's the message.
Well, listen, man. Listen, you're asking us a question. Let us answer the question. And the reality is that the information, the intelligence we've got is what we hear from people on the doorstep, not what pollsters might wish to say. We've been knocking on people's doors. We had 700 people in one constituency at 7 o'clock only the other night. We're listening. We're knocking on doors. We're getting out there. We're listening to what people have got to say. And listen, Joe, yes, it has been tough in many constituencies. It really has.
Right.
Brexit is an issue.
Right.
Well, but when we knock on the doors, the real issue is the NHS, it's education, and it's money in people's pockets.
And you've wanted the election to be about that, and obviously the result will judge whether that's been a success or not. But when it comes to your Brexit position, there is still this problem highlighted by Len McCluskey. Are you for remaining in the EU or leaving?
Well, what we've said, it's quite clear. I'll set myself 10 seconds to explain the Labour Party position.
We know the policy.
Labour Party will get elected. The Labour Party will head to Brussels. The Labour Party will negotiate a deal with the EU, and then we'll put it back to the people with a credible leave option. Less than 10 seconds, no confusion, no fudging.
No, and I didn't say it was confusing, and you, in fact, have just come out to say that you will back Labour's leave deal. That's right, isn't it?
What I've said quite clearly is that once the Labour Party have negotiated a Labour leave, I would support and I would campaign for a Labour leave option on the ballot paper.
Well, that's clear.
I would campaign for that.
We're showing people your tweet. I can confirm what you've just said. Vote to leave the European Union with a Labour deal that protects jobs, the economy and our rights at work. Are you the only one? You're certainly the only Labour person I've spoken to that has, from the front bench, confirmed that they will back the negotiated deal by Labour. Not obviously Keir Starmer, Diane Abbott, Emily Thornberry, the people that might be negotiating it, but you will.
I definitely will. There's no ambiguity there. I've said it yesterday. I'm saying it again quite clearly today that my position would be that I would support a Labour negotiated deal to leave the EU.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what we've said is we'll put it back to the hands of the people. The people have got the right to decide on the future.
Right, I know that. But are you going to lead that campaign against your colleagues who will be campaigning vociferously to remain?
I'm not going to be leading any campaign against any of my colleagues because the issue with the EU is extremely toxic. I expect to win the election this week. I expect then to have a negotiated Labour deal. We look at the devil in the detail, and I'll be campaigning. I'm not campaigning against anybody. I'm campaigning for what I think's right, and that would be a Leave option negotiated by the Labour Party.
We don't know what's going to happen in this election. None of us does. And there is a sense that if Labour loses any seats at all, may perform well, but if you lost any seats at all, would you consider that going backwards? Would there be questions about Jeremy Corbyn's leadership?
Well, listen, the reality is with regard to general elections of any kind, very hard to predict. We'll just wait and see what the results are on Friday morning. I'm absolutely clear in my mind from what we've, the intelligence we've got with this brilliant ground operation, that we've got a real live chance of winning this election. Jeremy Corbyn has got a real live chance of being the Prime Minister of this country on Friday. We're going to continue right till 10 o'clock tomorrow night, knocking on people's doors, listen to what they've got to say, and you know what, we've got a great chance.
One of the things that has dogged the campaign has been claims and allegations of anti-Semitism. John McDonnell has said that he worries this has had its effect. What effect is that?
Well, I think that John's right, but Jeremy is taking this very, very seriously, the issue of all types of intimidation, harassment, racism, including anti-Semitism. Jenny Formey, the new Secretary of the Labour Party, has took this very seriously. We cannot have anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. We are rooting it out, and I'll not be satisfied as chairman of the party till every single anti-Semite is kicked out of the party and never, ever allowed back into the Labour Party. This is really important, and I understand and agree with what Jon McDonnell just said.
There's cheering going on behind you. You better go and join the crowds. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.